start screen printing on your t-shirt. And so you want to make sure your tabletop or whatever area you're printing on is clean. Otherwise, if I put my shirt on top of it, it's going to take paint and get your back of your shirt dirty. You want to have something in between the front and back. So if I'm printing on the front, I want to put something in between that I don't mind getting dirty. Otherwise, the ink might bleed on to the back side, and you might have a double print that will be backwards on the back. I think the cutting mat works well as a good in-between surface if it's large enough for your stencil. Other things that might work well are a flat file folder or extra scratch paper. Things that are textured like cardboard, corrugated cardboard, can be a little tricky because they're bumpy, and so it will give you kind of a weird bumpy pattern. For our purposes, we are going to eyeball where the sun's up. And so by eyeballing, you're kind of estimating where, based on looking at the top of the stencil, where will it line up? It's hard to move the stencil once it's stuck to your screen, so I'm going to move my shirt to adjust accordingly. You don't want to rush yourself, but also if you take too long, then the ink will dry inside your screen and it will get crusty and it will act as an additional stencil. So, as for placement of your shirt, think about normal places where you have shirt images and where you want your design to live. Do you want it really high up near the neck? Do you want it kind of like a logo? Do you want it in the center? Do you want it towards your stomach? So it's up to you where you choose to put your image. I'm going to add a little bit more ink so that I have about the same amount as I started with in the first demo. Ta-da-da. And I have my squeegee at 45 degrees. I'm pressing down pretty firmly, covering my stencil completely. So really use your weight. And then my squeegee is going back the other direction, and I have ink on this side, not on this side. And I'm driving my ink through my stencil the other way. If you feel compelled to do so, I'm going to go a third time. And then this one, when I lift up, I'm going to flood my screen. So what I'm doing is just taking the ink and lightly covering it over the stencil so that it stays a little more wet. And then making sure I put my squeegee where I know it will live, and my shirt is now complete. When you take it to dry, you want it to dry somewhere where no one's going to touch it because it's still wet. It will take a good at least like 20 to 30 minutes to dry properly. So just make sure it's laying flat so that no one's going to pick it up and smudge it. Cleanup is really important. First thing you want to do is salvage all the ink you can. So if you have any ink on your screen, you can scrape it to put back into your container and reuse again, as long as it's not mixed ink. Same with your squeegee. You can scrape any excess ink, like so, to reuse again. This is mixed ink, so I'm not going to reuse it. I'm putting all my dirty tools on my screen. You want to make sure to cap your ink. If you can, clean off the edges of the ink so that it will be easier for you to open your ink again. If you leave the ink uncapped in a hot place, it may completely dry out. It can be really difficult to use your stencil again, so the best way, because it's stuck to your screen, so you will throw it away. Cleaning your screen is really important because this ink will plasticize. So if I don't clean my screen in time, it will stay in my screen and forever become a clogged area of stencil so that you won't be able to use it. Right now I'm in a sink with a large basin, so if you have a utility sink at home, that is a good place to do that. If you have a hose where you can spray outside, I think that's also a good place to do this. If you do this in your bathroom sink, just make sure that you're not getting paint all over your family's bathroom or kitchen. So what I'm doing now is I'm using a spray to wash my screen